Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Bunker to Bunker podcast. We have a special guest here from CBS Sports First Cut, the sports line, and any articles he writes for CBS Sports, and also you can see him on Twitter tweeting about people's golf shots or coverage or really anything golf or anything else related. Patrick McDonald, how are you this morning?
I thought you were about to dox me or something right there, throw me under the bus before we even got going. But Josh, it's an honor to join you today, and I'm excited to talk a little golf with you.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of we're getting closer to like the Masters. This is what I want to talk like storylines with you. But yeah, I definitely had to have you on, especially since I retweeted one of your tweets of Sky Scheffler's weird swing at the players. I'm not sure to give you a hockey assist to my retweet and then the PGA Tour, but that was a pretty cool like moment, for at least myself. But I appreciate that tweet that I saw.
Yeah, I think a hockey assist is a good way of putting it. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. When I put it out there, and then when the PGA Tour retweeted it, I got friends texting me being like, "Is that actually like the new logo of like the players?" And I said, "There's just no, like that's just, I guess it could be if he goes like back to back to back, for next year, but I thought that was pretty cool, and had to have you on. But before we kind of dive into like the storylines, I wanted to ask you from a journalist perspective, like what does like a Masters week look for you leading up to like Thursday and kind of like throughout like the whole like tournament?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm not going to be at Augusta National this year. I'm the most disappointed person about that, trust me. So the way Augusta works is each outlet kind of has X amount of credentials
Okay.
for the editorial side. We have only two. So it's the editor and then Kyle Porter, our senior writer, is going to be on the editorial side. And then they try to kind of backdoor me, the old IRA to Roth IRA backdoor contribution style with the broadcast team for CBS Sports HQ. But unfortunately, Rick beat me out for that, rightfully so, to tell you the truth. I don't know if I'm quite yet Augusta National material. But for me, kind of covering it remotely, it's already started. I mean, we have the easy
Yeah.
SEO gets when it comes to articles, people Googling, who's going to win, who are the sleepers, kind of. They're not mindless. They can be fun sometimes, but they're definitely
Yeah.
something we just get done for every major tournament because everyone seems to have the same questions when it comes to major time, right? People who don't follow golf week in and week
Yeah.
out, they only follow 4, maybe 5 times a year. So we get those out pretty quickly. They're almost done. Just some quick tweaks the week of, and then from there it's kind of just we have some storylines that we're interested in. You know, Kyle might be more interested in some storylines more than others, and I might be vice versa. So we have a good blend. I really like the way our website is set up, where Kyle and I don't really agree on everything. I think it'd be very boring if you came to a website and you got the same perspective about everything. I mean, we definitely disagree respectfully, but I think it's what makes our portion of CBSSports.com, really good and something that could be special in the future.
Yeah, no, I mean, I read almost everything from you and Kyle, and I think you guys have both different perspectives, as you said. I think the way that you and Kyle think about golf in two different ways makes it, as you said, very appealing. With like your articles, is there one article like it's like the most like fun article you do, like a fun one that you post that you do every like year? Do you have any like traditions with like the Masters?
Yeah, we started a trends article, and I think it's really good for the Masters just because it is the only major championship that's held at a single golf course year over year. And so you have course
Yeah.
history that's super sticky. You need experience in general. the lead in is the longest, right? We have 3 months watching these guys up until
Yeah.
the Masters, as opposed to this new schedule over the last half decade where there's a big event every month. So you get to see there's a lot of information out there on these guys. So the Trends article, I joke around. It's like, oh, it identified John Rahm as the winner last year. It's like, no, duh, right? Like John Rahm was the best player in the world this time
Yeah.
last year. And this year, I'm excited because it's probably going to identify Scotty Scheffler, and I can go around and
Yeah.
tout that the Trends article picked Scotty Scheffler. But there's always a little bit of surprises. There's always a little bit of changes that go into that, especially with the OWGR this day and age. So the Trends article is always fun, and it kind of leads into everything else. It's a good research piece.
Yeah. I remember just last year, like the different like tiers. So like it knocks out certain like players and stuff, and then
Mm-hmm.
it gets down to one player. I mean, going back to like Scheffler is like when I read and listen to people's models, it's like, oh, there's no surprise like Sky Scheffler is number one. So it's, we'll get into more of him later on, but, I kind of tasked you a little bit with kind of your favorite storylines. I don't know where you want to start. I mean like my own top five. I kind of wanted to ask you kind of what are your top five like storylines, if we can kind of go like back and forth. But kind of, do you want to start at number five or number one for yourself?
We can go five. I feel like that's a little different, right? We got to tease the viewers, tease the listeners a little bit. We can't give them the goods right
Okay.
away.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think
No, they gotta
my
wait.
yeah, exactly. You got to wait till the end. But I think my number five, it's always something I look forward to with Augusta National is who's really gonna channel that Augusta National magic. It seems like it happens every year. Someone kind of dips into the fountain of youth. Last year was obviously Phil Mickelson with that final round, somehow
Yeah.
finishing runner up. But I think there's plenty of candidates for this year. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be Tiger Woods. I'm kind of
Yeah.
I'm just generally more bearish on Tiger than everyone else. But could it be Phil again? Who knows? Could it be someone like Jordan Spieth, who it seems like every year he's got a chance at Augusta National? This year he comes in with a DQ, missed cuts, some contention runs, really just everything under the bag. It's a smorgasbord. And maybe even some of these young guys who have never played, right? You have someone like Ludwig who's never played at Augusta National. You have a U.S. Open winner, the reigning U.S. Open champion, nearly the reigning Players Championship, and Wyndham Clark has never played a Masters yet. Maybe someone like a Sahith Theegala, who's long, wild, and creative around the green. So for me, it's really I love Augusta National just because there is some course history there, and we see guys just being able to figure it out even when they don't have their A games, and kind of that balance between rediscovering their form while at a very comfortable place that they know how to play better than some of the best players in the world. I love it year in and year out.
Yeah. It's, I forget the stat, but really no first timer really ever wins at Augusta. And I think when I see Ludwig and Clark, Clark's playing some of like the best golf on tour, or even golf like in general. So I'm really fascinated about that too. Just like how do those guys, play at Augusta? I guess like the fountain of youth could also be like Peter Malnati. First timer at Augusta too. So, who knows if, I guess he caught that, like last week, but we'll see what he does. So yeah, I think we'll definitely get, someone who, who finds that. It would it'd be funny if someone could make like odds on like, who really can do it, and
Which
get up
old
there.
guy
'Cause,
plays well?
yeah. Oh yeah. So that's definitely interesting. What's your, let's go to number four. Who you got number four?
Yeah, it's pretty generic. Kind of similar with Tiger. I'm kind of a downer with Rory. I'm not quite a Rory stan as some people are on the internet. But anytime you roll through Augusta National and the Masters, you got to bring up Rory McIlroy in the quest for the Grand Slam. So I'm going to slot him in at 4. That's probably much lower than many other people, but it's been a weird year for Rory McIlroy. You think about winning in Dubai to kick it off. He almost won back to back, if not for that water ball against Tommy Fleetwood on the 72nd hole. And then you come over to the United States, and let's kind of just call a spade a spade. It's been pretty bad for Rory McIlroy. He has 13 water balls already this season. He has, I think,
Jeez.
yeah, like 6 double bogeys. I think that's more than his entire amount in 2023. In the iron play, the wedge play, it's just not poor or not good right now. And you hear him talk about how he has one swing for his driver and he's driving the piss out of the golf ball. Don't get me wrong, outside of the occasional left miss, which has hindered him, quite a lot so far.
Yeah.
And then he has one swing for his irons. And like you can't get around Augusta National with 2 golf swings. It's just not going to happen. So he's playing a lot of golf. That's on purpose. He has been very adamant. He's been public about wanting to play golf and playing his way into the Masters. He's done just about everything when it comes to trying to prepare for the Masters, from playing a lot to not playing a lot. Uh, the last couple years, he changed his golf ball at the Valero Texas Open. He missed the cut there and then finished runner up to Scotty Scheffler. Last year, he changed his putter to the Scotty Cameron from the Spider, missed the cut at the Masters. So hopefully, he doesn't change anything this year in San Antonio. Like, buddy, just play your game. You're plenty
Yeah.
good. But Rory McIlroy in his quest for the career Grand Slam. I don't know if he's ever going to get it done. To tell you the truth, I think it's much more difficult to show up at the same golf course year after year. You have green jackets telling you, like, dude, I think it might be your year. That's like the worst thing they could tell Rory McIlroy. It's like, we really want you inside the champions locker room. We really want you at these dinners. We really want you to win. You know who wants to win more than all those guys? Rory freaking McIlroy. So we've kind of joked about it, like him just flying in late on Wednesday, maybe even early Thursday, and just avoiding all that noise and all that nonsense and focusing on golf. He doesn't have to play 80 practice holes like he did last year, right? It was Rory McIlroy's playing the best golf ever at Augusta National in his career, and then he misses the cut. It's like, kind of block out the noise, do your thing, and see where you stand after a couple days, and then go from there. But Rory McIlroy in the quest for the career Grand Slam is my number 4 storyline.
Yeah, that was my number 3. I definitely agree with you. I don't know if he said it or someone in his camp or maybe you or Kyle or Rick said it, but like I think he said like he just needs to go out there and just have like fun. I think the pressure that he puts himself on and everyone else like us who puts it on him, I think he just needs to go out there and just play golf and just have fun. Don't even think about it.
Yeah, for sure. It's literally, I mean, it's much easier said than done, right? He's fully aware of what can happen, but yeah, it's just like mentally he just crumbles at that place, and he needs to figure something out. And it's not flying Bob
Yeah.
Rotella in the week of, like, that only makes it worse, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I mean, he just needs. I think he'll get it done. I don't like maybe in like 5-6 years. I think maybe like this guy Scheffler hype can help him. He's kind of the guy. Tiger's back there. John Rahm. I'm sure we'll get into them and your other storylines. But when you talk about the career Grand Slam, I think having like the Masters is probably like the hardest one. If I had to choose like the final major to get the Grand Slam, the Masters would be like the last
Hmm.
option. That'd be like the last one you get. So, do you think Rory gets the career Grand Slam first or Spieth at the PGA?
Oh God, rocking a hard place right there.
I know.
The PGA setup isn't great for Spieth, just because, I mean,
No.
you see who's been winning though. It's really good drivers at the golf ball lately. And I mean, to his credit, he has improved. He's much longer off the tee than many people realize.
Yeah.
Let's see. PJ's out Valhalla. I think they go to Philly. Oh man. Uh, I'll go.
Yeah, they go to
They're both just
probably
mental
stopping grounds.
mental head cases. At the, I'll go with Rory. I guess I don't know if either of them are going to get it done. To tell you the truth, but if you made me pick, I would pick Rory just because
Yeah.
he is at least putting himself in contention at these major championships the last couple years. And you would think you eventually run into one. You would think. Would would that happen at the Masters? Maybe not. But Spieth has kind of just been a ghost outside the Open and the Masters ever since 2017. To tell you the truth, I know he has the third at
Yeah.
Bethpage Black, but he made like 400 feet of
I was
putts per
there.
round.
Yeah, I was there at Bethpage Black, I was a student while in tier that week, and it was hype because that was the first May PGA, I believe, and then Tiger, he won the month before, so like the hype of that. I don't know how Spieth came in third, as you said. You just said that he made 400 feet of putts, which is nuts, but he gained a lot of strokes off the tee at Oak Hill, so he's a weird golfer, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, give me your third Masters storyline.
My third storyline is Big Bad Brooks Koepka, coming off the runner-up at the Masters last year, held four-stroke lead with like 28-ish holes to go, doesn't get it done. He rectifies that mistake at the PGA Championship, wins number 5, third PGA. And I've kind of been hooting and hollering about this for a couple years. I just need someone else to get into the Grand Slam conversation. Anyone, I don't care who. And we talk
Yeah.
about Rory, we talk about Spieth, we even get Phil mixed in there every once in a while with the U.S. Open. Like, oh, could he do it? Who knows, right? So
Yeah.
it's time for Brooks Koepka to get himself a green jacket, and he's been pretty solid on Live so far. I think before the Hong Kong event, he hadn't shot an over par round. It's been all in the 60s, which is really good, especially for a guy who historically he starts very slow and then kind of builds his way into
Yeah.
the season. Last year was kind of the opposite. It felt like he started out fast, got a win in Orlando, played well at the Masters, won the PGA, and then kind of faltered off there at the U.S. Open and the Open. So I'm intrigued, I'll say, about what Brooks Koepka does, and hopefully he gets himself into contention because it seems like major championships are just much better. They even those tournaments are elevated when Brooks is in the mix. So yeah, I think Brooks Koepka and his quest towards adding the Masters towards his major tally, I think, is my number 3.
Yeah, that was my number 5. Were you? What was your stance on Brooks last? Do you remember where you stood with him before the Masters? Because he was like plus, I think it was 50 to 1 to win. Do you remember what your stance was on him last year?
Yeah, I got dragged pretty good for it. I always, the best ability is availability. The second best is accountability. I remember saying he was 35 to 1 to win Live Golf Orlando, and then he was 35 to 1 like at the end of the week to win. Right before they teed off to win the Masters, and I just remember saying it's like
Right.
this guy's the same price. I don't really buy it. I wrote an article saying I was concerned about his closing abilities. When you look at his play from a few PGA championships, when he said he's not Dustin Johnson's friend anymore at TPC Harding Park, to the Phil Mickelson slow playing him at Kiowa and just mentally dominating him there, and kind of even the win at Bethpage Black. I mean, it got a little hairy there towards the end with DJ Larkin and him kind of on a bogey train. So I wrote an article
Yeah.
about that. Naturally, the next major championship, he baptizes me and wins the PGA Championship in great fashion. So I was a little, I would say, pessimistic relative to everyone else about his major championship chances. I think, one, I was honestly a little disappointed in myself because I felt like my own opinion was altered by what other people were saying, which I hate
Hmm.
when that happens to me. Got to stick to my own guns. But at the end of the day, I was wrong about Brooks Koepka. I will take it on the chin. And, I'm all about seeing players break records and make new history. And I'm hoping he can do something similar this year.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster for him at like the Masters. I forget what year it was, but he like couldn't bend down properly to like
Mm-hmm.
pick up like his ball from the hole or even like mark his ball, and then he, last year with not the greatest finish, but a great week overall for him. Do you think the slow play is like a real thing with him, or for just a golfer in general, professionally?
He was definitely annoyed and affected by slow play, especially at, I would say, the Ocean Course with Phil. I think there was a lot more mind
Yeah.
games than people realized just watching the telecast. But yeah, he fixed it at the PGA Championship. He walked much slower in between shots just because he has a fast routine relative to other players. Once he's kind of at his golf ball, so it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. When you look at kind of how he was
Yeah.
pacing around the golf course, so he's always been a quick player, and he kind of figured it out.
Yeah, I went to the Arnold Palmer this year with my brother for either Wednesday, Thursday, and golfers are really, really fast walkers. And I don't
Hmm.
think people actually understand that. I was there, like, tracking every group, and golfers, and even, like, their caddy with their huge bag, were out, like, walking me, basically side by side with them. So yeah, I think it does definitely affect him. I think he, I think he will get it done. He's just a different breed, obviously. And I'm really excited to see him because, as you said, I would like someone else in that career Grand Slam because maybe they'll take even more pressure off of Rory, but it also might put more pressure on him. If Koepka, because Rory and Koepka kind of went back and forth about who gets that fifth major. Uh, so I'm not sure how that will affect Rory's chances of the career Grand Slam. So, let's get to number two, which I think we'll probably have the same number two and one, but I'll let you fire away.
Ooh, calling your shot, Josh. We shall see.
Uh,
My number two, I'm going with John Rahm. There have
mhm.
only been three other men to defend their titles at Augusta National: Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Nick Faldo. Rahm has kind of he's been solid on Live, no doubt. He has four top tens, but he's going to play at Trump National Doral next week, the week before the Masters. But the lead up is inherently different. He played eight times. I don't know if three tournaments are really going to make that much of a difference. He had won three times also last year, and even he talked to the media there when he was releasing his Champions Dinner menu last week, and even he's not sure of what's better for him at this moment. He's played the week before, he's played well at the Masters. He hasn't played the week before, and he's played well at the Masters. So there is some unknown when it comes to John Rahm and kind of what his preparation is gonna mean for his chances at Augusta National. But I mean, this guy is an all timer through and through. He's so good, and I mean, we haven't really seen a lot of people reach major number three. We have guys like JT. He just won major number two. Rahm won major number two. I know Spieth is stuck on three for forever, it seems like, but they say number two is the hardest to win, right? People can win number one, but winning number two adds another level of validation. Dustin Johnson only has two majors, as hard as that is to believe. And I think Rahm getting to three would be a really big deal. And not only that, he'd be defending his title and joining the likes of Jack, Faldo, and Woods in the process, which I don't think can be understated.
Yeah, that was also my number two, so I'm glad I called my shot there. Rom is. I'm not the biggest John Rom guy over the years. I actually kind of made like fun of him over the last couple of years for. I don't think he's like a rage like monster, but he lets his like emotions out.
Hmm.
I used to poke fun at him, but I've appreciated that more because it's easy for the common golfer to relate to John Rahm's on course like antics sometimes. But I think his storyline of the live thing, he has said to like the media that like he does miss some of these PGA Tour like tournaments. So I'm interested to see how he kind of plays at the Masters and kind of hear his post game comments, depending on how he plays and kind of see like what he says kind of about his own like lead up to the Masters, as you said. Are you a John Rahm guy?
Yeah. I mean, I would say I was pretty surprised he moved to live. I mean, at his comments, he kind of always, he never really went one way or another. So from that perspective, you could say, oh, he was always leaving the door open. But I kind of just thought he'd be one of those guys where money did not matter as much as, winning at tournaments like Riviera or Bay Hill, stuff like that. But yeah, I think it kind of just taught me personally no one can be trusted in professional golf,
Yeah.
and wait for all the cards to be shown before looking like an idiot. I mean, like Zach Johnson too. That's a totally different tangent, but like Zach Johnson, the Ryder, he could have saved me months of looking like a dummy. But yeah, that's kind of just the way it goes.
Yeah, and yeah, no, Zach Johnson. I mean, we can do a whole pod on that. If you're, I'm a huge like Ryder Cupper. I was there in 2021 for Whistling Straits, and as a golf sicko like myself, I was up at 1:30 a.m. Just to watch like the all like the matches, which again, he made me look like a dummy too.
Hmm.
Telling my friends that I can't hang out or anything because I have to watch like the Ryder Cup at 4:30 in the morning and get slaughtered. But um, as I said, we can do a whole pod on that for days. What is your number one storyline of the 2024 lead up to the Masters?
My number one storyline is Scotty Scheffler slipping on his second green jacket. I think everyone knows he is the best player in the world, but I don't think they understand just by how much. You look at kind of the numbers. I mean, he's almost a full stroke better per round than Xander Schauffele and Joaquin Niemann. Those are, 2 and 3 right now in terms of strokes gain data. He is more than a stroke better than Wyndham Clark per round, and there are only 5 guys in the world at the moment who are averaging north of 2 strokes gained per round. That's kind of your elite level players, and it's Scheffler, Xander, Neiman, Clark, and Rahm. Scheffler's over 3. He's 3.23 going into the Houston Open. And you think, okay, what was Scotty Scheffler in 2022? He was going on a fantastic run then. He was 2.5. He's almost a full stroke better than 2022 Scotty Scheffler. And then you go
Yeah.
over, you say, okay, 3 months isn't enough. Let's go over the last year. On the PGA Tour, Colin Morikawa was fifth in strokes gained tee to green over the last year at 1.58. Scotty Scheffler's first, obviously. He's at 3.16. He has doubled up the fifth best player on the PGA Tour from tee to green. That is dumb. It is silly. It is insane. He, last year in his defense, he was really good from tee to green. The putter was atrocious, as we've seen. He still finished top 10. And so I really don't see how he doesn't win this. Maybe Rahm surprises and he turns into the Rahm of the early stages of last year. I don't think Joaquin Niemann, despite him playing some great golf, you kind of have to contend in a couple of these majors before you win the Masters. He hasn't done that yet. I don't think he wins. Wyndham Clark is a debutante. They have not fared too well.
Yeah.
Outside, I mean, Will Zalatoris played pretty well in his debut, runner up to Hideki. But it's tough, and he definitely hits that fade, which isn't the best shot shape for Augusta National. And then Xander Schauffele, kind of tough to trust down the stretch, right?
Yeah.
I don't wanna
Mhm.
pile on. So you look at all these names, you look at who's playing well, and everything just points to Scotty Scheffler. So I think him winning the Masters is, I mean, I'm not gonna lock it in or pencil it in or anything like that, but it is the most likely outcome.
Yeah, seeing him in person, it was just different.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I'm not around professional golfers that much, obviously, but you know, just seeing him swing and just like the sound it makes off like the like driver, even for all these guys are just a different breed. So yeah, I mean, I was there watching him putt. I'm not gonna say that I definitely knew like the putter was like fixed at API when I was there on Wednesday and Thursday. Obviously, we've seen now that it has for the short term. Uh, but yeah, he definitely looked more confident with that putter when I was watching him on like the putting green than like the last time I've seen him in person at the Tour Championship last year. He is different. I love the comparisons that people try to make on Twitter because I don't think really a lot of people actually realize what he's doing. He's not this polarizing figure like a Tiger or like a Phil.
Hmm.
I think he could be like a bigger name if like he was more like polarizing. But it's really just like on like the golf course that he's showing everyone why he's like the best player uh, in the world. But I I I put this out on Twitter, I think, after he won the Players, but like, where does Scheffler rank of top professional athletes like right now, comparing like all other sports?
Mm. The first person that kind of comes to mind is Mike Trout, where he's so gifted and he's so good and he's putting up numbers. And they always, I'm not a huge MLB guy. I'll be the first to admit, but it's always like Mike Trout needs to get out of the Angels so they can market him better or whatever it may be. And so that's the first name that kind of comes to my mind is Mike Trout. Uh, he is putting up great records. I mean, you
Yeah,
want to, but I think the Scotty Scheffler discourse is always so bizarre to me, where people are calling him boring. Like, if you look back to Tiger Woods was not a quote machine. Tiger Woods was a robot. He said the exact same thing after every single win, after every single round, at every single pre-tournament press conference. He was trained to say whatever, the most
yeah,
mundane thing to the media. And it was his play because at times it would be somewhat erratic and he would pull off these heroic shots, a 30-yard slice three wood into a par five. He would be able to do that. The thing with Scotty is people are saying the same people who are saying now that he is not boring are the same people last year, over the last 2 years, who were on the forefront of calling him boring. It's hilarious to watch. Everyone's backtracking. It's like, oh, I don't really think Scotty Scheffler's that boring. And his golf is extremely boring. But that is like the biggest compliment you can give to a golfer. Fairway, green,
yeah,
15 feet. You make it or you don't. You go on to the next one. Scotty Scheffler's never going to make like a double bogey where he doesn't lose a golf ball, right? Like that's just not going to really happen for
yeah,
Scotty Scheffler. He is so boring on the golf course in the best way possible. And boring golf is how you win major championships. Look at Brooks Koepka throughout the years. He has figured out that equation better than anyone else. Fairway, green, give me a 15 to 20 footer. I'll knock in a few of them throughout the course of a tournament and I'll go on and win. And so I think Scheffler being called boring is kind of disappointing, but it's from the same people who were calling him boring like a couple years ago. The discourse is just so funny to me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can call him boring, but I feel like over the last 2 months, like you saw his like frustration at the Genesis with like his putter. He's throwing a ball into like the woods, kind of tossing his putter around, and then even at the Players, he's down like 5, 6 strokes and holes out for like eagle, and he's right back in it. So His game is very boring. You can't all beat Jordan Spieth, who hooks one into and has to take a drop on the driving range at the 2017 like Open and go on and win. It's tough. But kind of my final quick question for you. I think you kind of teased this in like your Scheffler analysis, but I was talking with a friend last night, trying to prep for this interview with you. Again, thanks for coming on. But Scheffler's by far the number one golfer. Who, like, if you had to rank, like, who's 2 through 5? It could be like 10 or 15. Like, you can really debate like 10 or 15 guys who's in 2 to 5. I'm not gonna tell you to rank 2 to 5, but like I know you named a couple of names, but especially with the PJ Tour and Live, we don't see Koepka and DJ, Cam Smith, and Rahm that much. But Scheffler's kind of all we really got. You mentioned like Rory, so kind of on the top of your head, like if you just had to kind of spitball, like who's that 2 through 5 this week?
That's a good question. I do not think it's Wyndham Clark, despite what everyone is seeming to crown this man, the stomper, perhaps. There's not going to be a lot of grass to stomp there at Augusta National, so I don't know what he's going to do there in case he needs to take a drop. I joke. Number 2 is Jon Rahm. I think his prolonged consistency. You could say the same thing about Rory McIlroy, who I would probably slide in there at 3, despite kind of some struggles in the early season. Jon Rahm's so good, and he's one of those guys who can just turn it on at a moment's notice. So I'll say he is 2, Rory's 3, despite some poor play. If we're talking just regular rankings, I don't think you can put Brooks Koepka at 4, but if we're talking rankings for the Masters, I think you absolutely need to put him in your top 5. So I'll put Brooks at 4, and then probably Wyndham Clark 5. I'm not quite sure he is the killer that everyone wants to label him as at the moment. I think he has a little bit to go. I mean, what happens if the AT&T Pebble Beach goes another day? He's probably not winning that tournament, in my opinion. To tell you the truth, it's impossible to back up the round of 60 with another really good one, and you have Ludwig on your ass. So I'd put him at 5. And, saying all that, it's tough to say, right? He's a U.S. Open winner. He won the Wells Fargo, won Pebble Beach, nearly won the Players. He's doing everything right, but I'm not quite there for him yet because he is still a hothead. I know that for a fact. I've heard some very interesting stories about Wyndham Clark, kind of just out in the world, and so I need to see it a little bit more. And I mean, debutante at Augusta is never helpful.
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking with my friend, it was like, is Clark a top 5 guy? And I'm just like, probably, just because recency like bias.
And winning matters.
I'm a big. Yeah, he wins. I mean, he has won a handful more times than Cantlay and Xander have the last 2 years, 18 months ish, I guess, or even more. I think kind of we had all the same storylines besides your 5th one. My 5th one was like, how do the first time, or not the first timers, but like the non-major champions do, like the Hovland, Cantlay, Xander, Finau, kind of that group, because I kind of think like who needs it more, which I don't know. I guess Xander probably he needs it the most now after like the Players, but that was my 5th storyline. I forgot to add that in.
Okay, yeah, I think honestly, I think Xander might win too. Which, like he's like, if it's not going to be Scottie Scheffler, I kind of think Xander Schauffele's going to win the Masters.
I was looking at his odds. I think he's plus 2,400 on FanDuel. I mean, he's played well. Obviously, he put one on 16 in the drink when Hideki won, but like he's going to win at some point. My best story from like the Arnold Palmer, I was on the practice green and it was probably like 4 or 5 o'clock, so not many other golfers were there. And Xander was he was chipping, and you can get pretty close to where Xander was. He was towards the crowd, which I was kind of confused about. I thought he'd be farther away from the crowd because he doesn't really come off as a guy that wants to talk with like fans, but he was locked in. He chipped for like an hour. My brother and I talked to his caddy, Austin Kaiser, about the Broncos and sports and the course and stuff. So I would love to see a Xander. He was also talking with us too, so I was very surprised that he engaged with us. So I'm a little bit on the team Xander train right now. I hope he gets it done.
Okay.
So I trying to think anything else Masters related. I think we really covered actually no, we did not cover everything. I did tell you 40 minutes, so I'm gonna wrap this up quick, but what's your Tiger take?
Oh gosh. See, the issue with Tiger and me is if you talk poorly about Tiger Woods, you have people coming out of the woodwork saying,
Yeah.
"You ungrateful SOB, he's the reason you have your job, yada yada yada." Like, that's not lost on me. I get it. You changed the entire game.
Yeah.
That being said, if he's not going to ramp up in a way that is needed to play well at a major championship, like, what are we doing here? He's played one round in 2024, and we've seen this story for the past couple years now. He's going to impress at some stages. There will be 6-hole stretches
Yeah.
where he plays in 3 under or something like that, and you think to yourself, "Oh my goodness, this is great." And then there's going to be some moments where you just cringe and you're like, "Oh gosh, do we really need to see this anymore?" I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say like he needs to retire or anything like that, but I think he is trending pretty much towards a ceremonial golfer at this point. Could he finish top 10
Yeah.
in a major championship again? Maybe. But what his prep needs to be is so different than what he's doing. And I understand the limitations with his body and all that. But if he was serious about the Masters and winning, I mean, every media member lines up to the front of the microphone, "Tiger, Tiger, Tiger, do you think you can win?" So that they can get that quote and it goes viral on social media. It's the worst part of every Tiger week ever. It's like, Tiger Woods thinks
Yeah.
he can win a golf tournament. What is he going to tell you? And so
Exactly.
if he was like super serious about it and wanted to get more out of the game, Greg Ducharme on the first cut made this analogy, and I think it's so good, where every time he plays, it seems like he's running a marathon, right? Like he's going all out for that one time. And the way you train for a
Yeah.
marathon is not by running for a marathon. You build up for it. So I wish he would have done
Yeah.
something during the Florida swing. Not even played the Players or the API. Play the Honda and the Valspar, 2 flat golf courses that you've played before. Get more reps under your belt. If you can't do that physically, then I'm the idiot talking here, and I'm assuming that's the reason why. But him coming into Augusta for one round and people expecting something out of him, I think it's just a fool's errand.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, I think the correct Tiger take is just not to have a take, as you said. So I appreciate your long answer for the content game. But yeah, I do agree. He's just a ceremonial, like golfer at this point. But we saw like Phil, he won the PGA, and then he, T2. He also has, he's pretty
Got
healthy from
health.
what
Got
we
some
can
health on his
see.
side.
Health, there's probably, he's probably not healthy in some other areas, with everything going on. But yeah, I appreciate your time, Patrick. Where can everyone find you? I know where to find you, but what do people know?
Josh, it was awesome. It was great talking to you. Great putting a face to the name. You can find all my stuff at cbssports.com. I'm on the First Cut podcast. On socials, I am P. McDonald, CBS, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Trying to get in with the kids these days, right? Little short form
Same.
content. All the rave, Josh. It's all the rave.
Yeah. All right, Patrick. Thanks for your time, and good luck during Masters week.
Yeah, great talking to you, Josh.